Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to day 30 of our favorite guitar Riff-Masters of all time and the honorable mentions. Going to do them all in one episode here. So, we've been going each and every day throughout the month, picking out our favorite Riff-Masters, picking out our favorite riffs. I'm a riff guy. I always love talking about riffs and things like that. It's just another excuse to honor some of the great guitar players that we have had in music history. And today, as you've seen by the thumbnail, one of the greats of all time. I couldn't leave him off this list, even though he only released the 3 studio albums while he was still alive. Tons of live stuff has come out. Tons of studio stuff from the vaults have come out. But Jimi Hendrix, an icon. And, sometimes I always think of Jimi as kind of like the complete package, right? Because he plays great riffs, great solos, great front man, pretty damn good singer too. He's kind of like does it all performer, right, and all that sort of thing. It's funny because he was actually a late addition to my list because he didn't just sometimes you think of certain guys as riff guys and other guys you don't really think in that light. But then the more I was kind of like going through and putting the list together and stuff, I'm like, God, yeah, but Jimi, man, iconic riffs, right? So many of them on those first 3 albums. I'm going to pick one from each, right? I'm going to go, gotta do probably one of the most iconic riffs of all time, right? Gotta go Purple Haze from Are You Experience, right? That's a given. That's like classic late 60s psychedelia, right? Hard rock. There's elements throughout Hendrix's music of the heavy stuff that would to come, as well as blues and jazz and psych and pop and whatever else. But man, the power trio format doesn't get much better than Purple Haze. Man, it's just so it's amazing. It's iconic. It's legendary, right? That's my first one. My second one, I'm gonna go to the second album, which of course is Axis, Bold as Love. And I'm going to go with Spanish Castle Magic. Spanish Castle Magic. It's early, Pete. Speak slowly. You can get it out. Anyway, I love Spanish Castle Magic. I think it's just a terrific song. Again, it's a pretty heavy song. And man, that riff is just absolutely cool. It just kind of plays throughout the song. Just classic. Absolutely classic. That's my number 2. Number 3 has to be, can't be anything but Voodoo Child, Slight Return. It's gotta be, right? Man, lots of fuzz, wah wah right in the intro. Voodoo Child just like kind of like this miasma of just kind of fuzz laden guitar and energy and sexuality and all that kind of stuff. A Voodoo Child, just one of the all-time great songs, one of the all-time great riffs. Had to include it here, of course. Jimi playing his, in most cases, playing that left-handed Fender Stratocaster. Of course, he plays other things too. You can occasionally see him with a Flying V or maybe a Gibson SG. There have been an occasion or two, I think, where I've seen pics of him playing a Les Paul, but mostly it's obviously various different Fender Stratocasters, right? That was his weapon of choice. And again, with the overdriven Marshall amps and the fuzz pedal and the Univibe and the wah-wah pedal and all this stuff at his disposal that he created these amazing sounds. And just one of the all-time greats who just defied all categorization and just revolutionized the way we looked at guitar playing in a rock guitar playing, blues rock guitar playing, whatever, however you want to call it. And there were not too many of those guys that have come out in the last 60 years who did it quite like Hendrix and Van Halen instantly come to mind. There have been lots of great guitar players, legendary guitar players, but very few who just completely turned guitar on its face and just changed the landscape, right, forever. And certainly those two guys. All right, so you know how it goes. Down in the comments below, list your 3 favorite riffs from Mr. Hendrix. as well as your pick for today, day 30, last day of the month, right? And we're finishing things out, so let's do the honorable mentions, shall we? So these are guys that, or players, I should say, that I just love to death, and deserve to be mentioned. There's probably a lot more that I'm not going to mention, just because you can't mention them all. I mean, there's so many favorites. How about Ann Wilson and Roger Fisher from Heart, right? Dave Mustaine from Megadeth, for sure. Randy Bachman Turner Overdrive. Adrian Smith and Dave Murray. I know a lot of you were kind of surprised that I did not mention them here in this month. I mean, you can't mention everybody, right? One of the things about Maiden, I love Smith and Murray a lot. For me, tend to not think of Iron Maiden songs for the riffs for whatever reason. To me, Maiden, when I hear all my favorite Maiden songs and albums from throughout their catalog, I don't pick out the riffs. To me, it's all about the whole song. So that's why I didn't choose them. Because I tried to pick the 30 that, just right. I didn't even have to think about it. Yeah, it's the riffs. It's all about the riffs, right? And other things. But so yeah, that's why I didn't pick Smith and Murray. But I have to acknowledge them because, I mean, quite frankly, when you think about it, there are tons of great riffs throughout Iron Maiden's catalog. Chris Caffrey from Sabotage. I mentioned him earlier when I talked about Chris Oliva. But Mr. Caffrey has had lots of cool riff-a-rama on his solo albums, as well as the Spirits of Fire albums, and on those couple of Sabotage albums he did. So I wanted to mention my good friend Chris. What else we got? So how about, let's mention the Scorpions. So Rudolf Schenker, Matthias Jabs, and Uli John Roth. All right. Uli, I really wanted to pick, and I know Uli's had some great riffs too. I think when we do the lead guitar player series, he's going to without a doubt show up there, because again, he's a guy who I mainly am drawn to for his lead guitar work. But yeah, great riffs too from all those guys. And Rudolf Schenker is a riff guy. John Schaefer from Iced Earth, one of the great power metal riff guys of all time. Vivian Campbell, specifically for his stuff with Dio, right? Because those couple Dio albums have some great riffs. Billy Duffy from The Cult, for sure. Joe Perry and Brad Whitford from Aerosmith. Victor Griffin from the great Pentagram. John Petrucci from Dream Theater. Buck Dharma and Eric Bloom from Blue Oyster Cult. Kim Thayil from Soundgarden. Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains. The great Kurt Vanderhoof from Metal Church. Got to mention him. Michael Ackerfeld from Opeth. And all the other guys who played in Opeth, right? Gary Jennings from Cathedral. How about Robert Fripp from King Crimson? He's had a lot of really good riffs in some of those Crimson albums. Kerry Livgren and Rich Williams from Kansas. Rob Tremonti from the great Alter Bridge, also from Creed. Dave Meniketti from Y&T. Steve Marriott, specifically his work in Humble Pie. Pat Travers. Mel Galley, who played, of course, a founding member of Trapeze. A lot of great riffs in Trapeze. Played on Slide It In by Whitesnake as well. Jeff Beck. Again, I don't really think of Beck as a riff guy. I think of Beck more as kind of like a feel guy and playing cool solos. But sure, lots of great riffs, right? Maybe not enough ultra memorable ones to make my top 30. But again, a guy who for sure will show up on the lead guitar show. Yeah, I mean, Beck is legendary, one of the greats of all time. Beck is probably, for me, Beck is up there with a guy like Hendrix and a guy like Van Halen as far as revolutionizing. Maybe some people don't quite think him in that stratosphere. Maybe a lot of people do. I think he's pretty much up there too. I think out of all the guys who kind of debuted in the 60s and played throughout the 70s, if you're going to pick someone else who kind of fit that mold of truly revolutionary guitar players alongside a Hendrix or a Van Halen, no disrespect to Clapton, no disrespect to Jimmy Page, but I think Jeff Beck was kind of on a little different level, for me anyway. And I also think Ritchie Blackmore was doing some really crazy, insane, revolutionary, legendary guitar work also during that time period too. But yeah, Jeff Beck. Tom Schultz from Boston, of course. All the various guys who have played in Overkill, right? Great thrash band from New Jersey. Eric Peterson, Alex Skolnick from Testament. Lots of great riffs throughout their work. Kerry King, Jeff Hanneman from Slayer. Gary Holt and various guys from Exodus. Pepper and Kurt from Down, for sure. Tom G. Warrior from Celtic Frost. John Christ from Danzig. The great Chuck Schuldiner from Death. Joe Duplantier from Gojira. One of the more recent riff kings, right? Akira Takasaki from Loudness. Randy Rhoads from Ozzy Osbourne's Blizzard of Oz. Only 2 albums there with Ozzy. Lots of great riffs on those albums, of course. Jim McCarty from Cactus, the Detroit Wheels. George Lynch, Dokken, Lynch Mob. Warren D. Martini and Robin Crosby from Rat. How about Isaiah Mitchell from Earthless? All right. How about Zakk Wylde? Of course, from Black Label Society, Ozzy's band, now playing with Pantera. Pete Townsend from The Who. Paul Stanley and Ace Frehley from Kiss. You know, I really debated. I really wanted to put them on the top 30 because I grew up on the riffs of Kiss and the music of Kiss, right? Ultimately, they just kind of missed the cut. They would be not far from the 30, right? They're definitely probably in the top 40 for me. Nuno Bettencourt from Extreme. The great Matt Pike. And last but not least, the great Wino, right? Matt Pike and Wino, 2 guys from the stoner metal scene, right? Excellent players, and lots of riffs, right? So, yeah. Those are my honorable mentions to go along with my last pick of the month, Jimi Hendrix. So thanks to all of you for watching and playing along all this month. I know for many of you, this was not must-see stuff, right? Because a lot of people were saying how I'm not a guitar player. I don't really know riffs from this or riffs from that. I get it, I guess, but your ears know. You don't have to be a musician to know if you like guitar riffs or not. So, but anyway, that's fun. That's fine. A lot of people seem to enjoy this. I really got a kick out of doing this because I love talking about guitar players and riffs and things like that. So, but yeah, starting tomorrow, I am going to be counting down my favorite 31. Sorry, is it 31? It's 30? How many days from the month? Yeah, 31. My favorite 31 hard rock and heavy metal albums of the 80s, which was a ridiculously hard task. I'm still not 100% done tweaking my list, I think, but I got to do it today because tomorrow's the first episode. So each and every day I'm going to be counting down from 31 to number 1. So on the last day of May, you'll get my number 1 favorite hard rock or metal album of the 80s. So again, it's a long period of time, lots of great albums. My overall list was well over 200, probably close to 300. And I just kind of, take that one, take that one, take that one. How many albums do I take from one specific band? And it's been kind of crazy. I'm pretty sure, as of today anyway, because again, I'm not done with the list, I'm pretty sure I have allowed myself up to 3 albums from any one particular band. So that's kind of hard for a couple of bands because there are a few of them who I have lots of favorite albums that came out from them in that decade, right? So, but I've done 3. I was originally going to do 2, and then for a couple of bands, I just couldn't do it. So I said, all right, so we'll do 3. But there's lots of great stuff that's not going to make the list that I still really love. And like I said, I'm not going to do an honorable mention show because it would just be ridiculously long. So I'm just going to give you the top 31. And that's coming at you tomorrow. So starting tomorrow, you get my number 31, and we'll count them all back each and every day. So I hope you guys have been putting your list together. Hard rock and metal albums of the decade, so our favorite 31. And then, of course, in June, I'll be doing the exact same thing, except switching over to prog, switching the decade. So I'll be doing my favorite 30 prog albums from the 70s. Again, hard. But we're going to do it anyway. We're going to have fun, right? So thanks for watching, everybody. Tune in tomorrow for the debut episode of my top 31 albums of the 80s. Top 31 hard rock and metal albums of the 80s. And stay tuned. What do we got coming up this week? We've got Tuesday is in the prog seat, where we are going to be looking back at our favorite albums from 1971, our top 5 prog albums from 71. That's happening on Tuesday. And then we've got, of course, during the week, Wednesday, we've got new album review day. Should have a couple for you this week. And Friday morning at the Funhouse, of course. UK Connection, of course. And another Ranking the Album show. I'll be ranking the albums of the Derek Trucks Band a week from today. So tune into that. And stay tuned, speaking of ranking the albums, stay tuned for Danzig. Ranking the albums of Danzig coming on just a little bit. So till then, please subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as it posts. And please do hit the like button before you leave. Also down below, we've got the links to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations as well as our merch page. So thanks everybody for watching and playing along all month for our favorite Riff-Masters. List your final pick for today down in the comments below. And we'll see you tomorrow morning as we switch gears and talk about the 80s. Till then, I am Pete Pardo. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.